Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be looking at another army from Middle Earth. This time it is my own personal army, which is the Faramirs Rangers Legendary Legion. It's out of one of the new Lord of the Rings rulebooks. But basically it is literally just Faramir and a lot of Rangers. So what I've done with this army is I've basically themed it around the moment when they get back to Osgiliath after they've captured Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. So they've now entered the city. Faramir's standing there talking to him, telling him he's going to give his father a mighty gift, what Boromir couldn't give him. So basically what I've done is themed that army around this, and I've also added a few extra units for when I basically expand the army a little bit more. So if I ever want to use it as a Minas Tirith army, I can always use it with those extra added heroes and then just take a few rangers here and there. So basically what I've done with this army is I tried to get as many of the metal original Faramirs Rangers Ranger models as I could. Luckily I had about 8 originally that I just had bought over the years and just put in a box. Then I bought a massive load of them off a guy on the Lord of the Rings trade page. So that was quite handy. So I think I got about 16 off him, which was pretty much near enough the whole army. I also found some of the old plastic ones, which I don't like the plastic models, but they do add a nice bit of variety to the army as opposed to all being static, standing up or kneeling down. I've done a few extra things on the army as well, which I'll run over as I go through as well. But what we'll do is we'll go now and we'll take a look at some of the units that I've included, some of the conversions that I've done, and what I've done to basically make the army mine, essentially. So what we'll start with first is the leader himself. So this is Faramir and his foot model counterpart. So what I've done with these models is, in the Legendary Legion, Faramir has the option to take a horse. So why would you not take a horse, Obviously, I've got the original metal Faramir here. He's just, your basic standard Faramir model for the Ranger. Nothing spectacular about him. Quite a nice model, though. He's okay. But the main reason why I did this army was because I wanted to have a go at this. So this is the mounted version that I've done. So what I did was I took a Rider of Rohan. Well, it keeps going out of focus. I took a Rider of Rohan, I cut the lower torso off, so I cut the legs off him. Obviously I kept the horse as well, and then I cut Faramir in half at the torso, and then pretty much just attached the two together, and they went together like a really nice clean fit. There was a few bits that I did have to change, such as the bow, because you'll notice on the foot model, he has his bow, and that goes behind his legs. So what I did was, obviously I had to cut all that away, scrape all the gubbins off, and I actually got a Minas Tirith warrior's bow, stuck it on his hand, and yeah, that was pretty much the only conversion I had to do. Oh, and I also stuck a scabbard, obviously on his waist for his sword, because he's got his sword in the air. And that's pretty much all I did conversion wise, really. Put him onto a horse, green stuffed on a cloak, and that's it, really. I stuck him on. All of the models in the army are all on Generation Shift 92 bases, so these are the Broken White City ones. They don't come like this. What I actually did to these ones was I actually added extra sand onto the bases, so it already comes with like pre-molded sand on the base. But what I did was put PVA glue down, bookbinder's glue, which is like super strong. I put that down, put some more sand on, like coarse rocks and things, let it dry, and then just painted it as normal. So for painting the bases, it was literally, as soon as they were dry, spray paint them black. I spray painted them with Poundland's grey primer, which it's quite a light grey, but it's not too light that it kind of takes away the focus. So when I did that, I then dry brushed them with white, which is just normal matte white from Army Painter. I washed them with Army Painter's dark tone, and then I added little blobs here and there whilst the dark tone was still wet, I had little blobs of brown here and there as well to kind of just give the little rocks a little bit of a dirty appearance. And then obviously when they were dry, I applied epoxy resin, as you can see on Sam's base here. So I applied epoxy resin with a dab of blue ink to make it look like water. So obviously, because they're in the ruined cities of Osgiliath, there's going to be puddles everywhere. There's going to be little bits of water running here and there and everywhere, because there's catapults firing stuff all over the show. So all the banks are destroyed, all the buildings are destroyed, and that's what can be seen obviously on my Gandalf, who I'll get to later. I've basically randomised that throughout the whole army, so there's little bits on each. I kind of did one base, miss a few, that kind of rule. So it's not too much and not too little. Additional heroes in here, we've got Damrod as well, which he comes in the original Captured by Gondor, I think it's called. Captured by Gondor set, so he's just painted up as an ordinary ranger. He was actually the inspiration for the army's paint scheme. So what I did was I kind of mixed it up a bit and put black on a few of the tabards and things. Alternated a few colours between the models. He's probably one of my favourite models in the army. Just, I don't know, I've always got kind of a thing for underdogs, so he's good. We've got Madril as well, so he's in the army as well. Just, these are all painted to a tabletop standard. You know, they're not going to win best painted and things, but like they might do, you never know. But they're painted to a standard what I'm happy to put them on the table. So they're not display standard and they're not tabletop standard. They're kind of like high tabletop in a way. So we've got those three heroes. They're the three main heroes you have to take for the army. So I've got those three. And also, to kind of up the points, I also included Frodo. So these aren't the actual Frodo and Sam from the Captured by Gondor set, because I didn't quite like those models. So what I did was went to my local second-hand game store and I bought the models that I like the look of. So I went for Sam, obviously, because he's now making his Frodo, sorry, because he's making his way through Gondor. We've got Sam as well, so I think this is the Weathertop Sam. I'm not too sure, but obviously I wanted him in more of a dynamic pose because I wanted him to kind of look like he's pushing along Gollum. I got my favourite pose of Gollum as well, one of him crouched on a rock. This is actually from the Captured by Gondor set. I think it's one where Gollum's sitting on the rock eating a fish at the Forbidden Pool. So I've done water effects all around the base as well. So I've done little stippling on top of it to make it look like ripples, because obviously Gondor's full of water, so he's crouched on a rock somewhere having a snack on a fish. Really pleased with how the fish turned out as well. I used metallic blue paint on the fish as well to give it a nice blue sheen. But Gollum's one of my favourite models, so I'll always include them three in the army. What we'll do now is take a look at some of the ranges that I've got. I have converted a few up like this chap. So you can take a banner, but obviously it has to be a Minas Tirith banner, but I thought he'll just look nice on a display board or on top of like some Osgiliath ruins or something. Just a normal ranger, swapped the hand for, he had a sword, so I swapped it for a banner. Same with this guy, it's the exact same pose again, swapped his sword for a spear. These are some of the old metal rangers. So I was a bit annoyed with these because I actually applied a matte varnish to them, but for some reason the matte varnish came out more satin. So I'm probably going to have to go over these with an airbrush matte varnish at some point, just to kind of dull it down, because they're still a bit too shiny for my liking. But at least they're protected now, because obviously metal models, they do tend to chip quite a lot. He's one of the plastic ones, so he's one of the plastic rangers. He's not, so I'm not too keen on these models. They're a bit old, and they don't seem to be in scale either. They seem to be quite larger than what the metal models are. But we've got a lot of the metal ones, as you can see as well from the army. I've put bowstrings on all of the weapons as well. So this was probably the most time-consuming part. I think it took me nearly 3 hours to string all these bows. And what I did was basically put a blob of super glue on the top of the bow, and then I used this stuff, which is basically is heavy-duty cotton. This is the kind of stuff you use if you're trying to do up like denim, or if you're trying to I don't know, do like tarpaulin or something, or something you need a bit of strength to. This is the stuff you use. But I got a reel of this from a haberdashery shop for, I think it was £3, and I've had this reel for about 7 years now, and I've basically hardly used anything. It's thick enough to look like bowstring, and it's not thin enough to snap, which is kind of the bonus of it. So obviously you've got with these models here, he's got the bow slung over his shoulder, so I've done the bowstring like that. These guys are on the floor, so I've just done it as if they've loosed their bow. Just trying to find other ones I've done. Oh yeah, this guy here, he's got a back in the position. I do actually have some small scale spears that I'm going to use as arrows. I've just got to try and find them. So when I find them, I'm actually going to cut them to size, paint them, and I'm going to attach them to the models to make it look like they're actually firing their bows. I did do a couple in that pose, not a lot, but enough. Some of the, basically what I said at the beginning as well, I want to kind of make this a multi-purpose army. So you've got my Legendary Legion, which is what I'm going to be mainly using for tournaments, because why wouldn't you? It's amazing. And for obviously bigger games, I'm going to be using it as a Minas Tirith army. So I'm going to buy a couple of boxes of warriors, some knights, and for them, I'm going to have them led by Gandalf the White. So this is my Gandalf the White I did. He's on a generation shift hero base. So what I did with the hero base was I actually put masking tape around the outside, filled it up with 2-part epoxy, which is by Poundland. It's like super versatile stuff, sets in like no time at all. The rock in the bottom there is submerged. But, you know, as a hero, I thought he just needed to kind of stand out a little bit more, so I've put him on a hero base. He was all done. I did the base coats on him with an airbrush, so I started from black. I primed him in black, then I went over the airbrush with white. Washed the whole model with Apothecary White from Games Workshop, I think it's called. Yeah, Apothecary White. Washed the whole model with that to get obviously grey shading in the recesses and things. And then after that, I went back in with the airbrush again to do all the larger areas, such as his cloak and things, just to kind of bring that white back up again. Washed the whole model with a very, very, very diluted down dark tone from Army Painter, and then just went back in with quite a watered down white to pick out all the detail, and obviously painted the skin, Shadowfax's mouth and things like that. But I think he turned out quite well. He was actually a second-hand model. I purchased him off eBay. I won him for like a couple of quid. So he didn't actually come with Pippin or the foot model. It was literally just him on a horse. But for a couple of quid, I wasn't really going to complain. So I went back to my local second-hand store, and I managed to pick up an old metal Gandalf on foot. Did the same thing with his base again. So he's on like a little water effects base. And I also managed to pick up a Pippin on foot as well, because I would like to include him in my army for Minas Tirith, because I just like his model. He's really cool. And I've done it as if he's stepping around a rock. I also had this guy sitting in a box, so I thought I'd paint him up as well quickly. Quick 2-minute paint job. Just a cheap little banner for Minas Tirith. Did a little bit of water effects on his base as well, but nothing major. And that's pretty much the Legendary Legion. So I will be using this in tournaments and competitive play. I am planning on doing a display base as well at some point for him. So I'm going to be using an A3 frame. Take all the gubbins out, leave the wood at the bottom, build it up with styrene so it's kind of raised. I'm going to 3D print some ruins. I've got some Osgiliath ruins that I'll be using as well, kit bashing in it. And I'm just going to make them a nice little ruined Osgiliath display base to put on my shelf. So if I ever go to tournaments, I can always just plop them on that, and it'll be easier to carry them around from table to table as well. So it's kind of a multi-purpose thing, and hopefully that'll win me best painted as well. I'll say this is probably one of the first Lord of the Rings armies that I've painted for myself for a very long time. I've sold a lot of my Lord of the Rings stuff over lockdown, because a lot of my paint jobs on my old armies were easily about 7-8 years old. So the paint jobs, obviously, I can paint a lot better now. and the paint jobs for them were okay on the tabletop. They looked good from a distance, but when you're up close, it was like, my God. So I sold them quite cheap, got rid of all them, used the money to basically replace them with armies that I don't usually tend to play. When I've always done tournaments, I've always played comfortable armies that I'm comfortable with. So I've always taken like Uruk-hai and just kitted them out with sword shields, captains, all that kind of stuff, and crossbows. And I've also always played Moria because, you know, hordes of goblins, captains, trolls. So I thought when the tournament scene starts up again, I thought I'd do something a little bit different and go for an army that I never usually play. So I've never played a bow-strong army before, so these are going to be interesting to use. So that was my main reason for this army. Plus, I really wanted to paint some rangers, so that helped. And the next update I'll be doing is on my personal Easterling army. The one I posted before was a customer's army who I did, and that was so much fun. So I thought I'll start buying up Easterlings for my own army. I went to my local second-hand store yet again, and I managed to pick up 3 metal Easterlings, so I'll be converting them up. I've been chatting with a guy on Instagram as well who does resin 3D prints. He's actually created files for Easterling pikes. His name's Tabletop 3D, I think, and his work's like amazing, because obviously, as we all know, Easterlings only come with 4 pikes in a box, and you want pikes, you don't want swords or bows. So having his resin prints available is another option. So I'm going to be doing some conversions onto those. They're next on my list. I think I have a few more rangers to add to this army yet to make it 600 points, because I don't think this is actually at 600 points yet. I think when I last totaled it up, I needed about another, I think it was another 10 or 11 rangers to make it 600 points. I'm not quite sure. But I would like to add some normal Minas Tirith warriors with spears, just mainly due to the fact that as soon as combat comes, I'm going to need some defense, because these guys are quite squishy. So having those spears and shields, or even just swords and shields, to be honest with you, just going to be handy, having that extra defense as like a shield wall. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this army showcase that I've done. I am kind of tending to lean that way now towards like army showcases on my channel. I don't know about you guys, but I just enjoy watching army showcase videos, and I enjoy painting armies. You know, I don't enjoy just painting one model, posting a video about it. I'd rather paint a massive army, talk about a good backstory, you know, and you know, get a decent bit of progress out of my hobby rather than just painting one model at a time. So hopefully you'll be seeing my work situation has changed now as well. So I'm now going to be going back to work full time. So I'm now going to have a lot more personal hobby time on my hands. So there's going to be a lot more army updates. Like there's going to be additional units to my Grey Knights army now as well. Now the codex has been updated. I've got another couple of Lord of the Rings armies that I'm going to be planning to do. I've got Easterlings that I'm planning to get out onto the tabletop. I really want to build a Morannon army to go against these rangers. So if I build a big display board, I can have the two kind of on there. If I need to do a tournament where you have a good and bad army, then they're going to kind of join in together. I've got a few more models. I'd like to do a Rohan army as well at some point. I've always steered clear of Rohan because it's never been my favourite army. Just mainly because I've painted so many through commissions. But over the years, I've kind of amassed enough to kind of build half an army. So I'm just going to kind of crack on with that and build it really, and just see how that goes. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Sorry if it's been a little bit long-winded, but as I say, I really enjoyed painting this army. I'm in between 2 big commissions at the moment, and the models I'm painting for that are kind of like very monotonous. You know, I'm just churning through them. One of the commissions is really fun though, because it's a massive Lord of the Rings army. But these are really good to cleanse my palette. You know, I was able to do something creative that I wanted to do, and really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I shall catch you all in the next one. Hopefully there'll be an Easterlings update, or perhaps even a Rohan update. So I hope you all have a great time, and I shall catch you all in the next video, and happy hobbying. See you later.